I'm Billy Taylor at the 3rd Chicago Jazz Festival, the largest free admission jazz event in the country. And Chicago jazz lovers have taken advantage of the offer. The choice seats are already taken, and some of these fans were in place at 9 o'clock this morning. Why? Because Count Basie has come back to Chicago, and he's brought his royal court with him. Joe Williams, Sweets Edison, Lockjaw Davis, Earl Warren, and his Basie alumni. 5 generations of the Count's men, plus Count Basie and his fabulous orchestra. So stay with us. You've got the best seat in the house. Out in the middle of all this is our roving man on the spot. Singer, composer, pianist, writer, producer, and all-around music man, Ben Sidran.
Well, good evening, Billy. I'm out here in the midst of, there's probably 15, 20,000 people here already. All seem to be relaxing with a passion, if you know what I mean. They've got their...
have their passion juice?
They've got their passion juice, and they're spread out on their blankets, and they're finishing their dinners, and it's a wonderful warm evening. The sun is setting behind the Chicago skyline. Thousands of people are still streaming away from the Chicago Bears game at Soldiers Field, where those Bears really took a licking from the Packers, and I think these fans are going to have their feelings maybe massaged a little bit by Count Basie and his gentlemen. You know, the Midwest audiences, they wear their emotions on their sleeves, and I think this one is no exception.
I walked over to the field, and I passed through a lot of groups of people who were replaying the game. Boy, there's some rabid fans over there, that's for sure.
They are, and I think they're going to be a pretty lively audience with us here tonight. But right now, it's really, like I say, relaxing, and charcoal smell is in the air, and people are just really settling in for a long evening.
That sounds great.
It's beautiful.
Well, listen, we're going to be talking with you throughout the night because we want you to let us know how the fans are doing and how everything is going out there. But also with us tonight is a young man who came to Chicago a dozen years ago, and he's now a solid part of the Chicago scene. Producer, writer, broadcaster, columnist, Neil Tesser.
Thank you, Billy. I'm down here in the Musicians Lounge beneath the Petrillo bandshell where all this is taking place in Grant Park. And I've got myself a copy of the musicians' check-in list, you know, when they come in at the back door entrance here, the backstage entrance, to let people know that they've actually arrived. And you can tell a lot more about from the names that haven't been checked in yet, because they're going on a little later, but they include Eddie Lockjaw Davis and Sweets Edison, the trumpeter, Earl Warren, Buddy Tate, Dickie Wells, and of course some of the great members of the Basie band who are on their way. Freddie Green and singer Dennis Rowland, who I think is going to surprise a lot of people tonight. A couple of the names that have checked in include Eddie Johnson and Jody Christian, some Chicago perennials and great musicians we'll be hearing shortly. And the one name that we've all been looking for besides the Count himself that has signed in is the MC for tonight's program, and that's Joe Williams.
Yeah,
Billy, those are just the guys who could make it tonight.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry about my good friend Helen Humes, who is not able to be with us tonight, and I had really looked forward to hearing her sing, because not only was she the replacement for Billie Holiday in one of the earlier bands, but the things she's been doing recently are just so beautiful, and she's really kind of coming into her own as an artist once again. So I had looked forward to that, and a lot of folks like Joe Jones, the legendary drummer, and some of the other members of the band like Frank West and Frank Foster, and some of the guys that I associate with various bands that have made the Basie tradition what it is. That's the kind of thing that I think makes Basie the loved member of the band that he is, because he rides on the bus and he does all the kinds of things that band leaders are not supposed to do.
Well, you know, Billy, let me butt in for a minute to tell you that the first group, led by Paul Serrano and Eddie Johnson, is just on its way up the stairs and out onto the stage, and I think that this evening is about to kick off.
It sure is, and I want to thank you, because I'm looking right at the stage right now with Paul Serrano and Eddie DeHaas on bass, and it looks like a good group. Here comes Joe Williams, and he's about to introduce the group.
1, 2, down, 1, 1, 1, 1. There you go. 1, 1, 1, fine.
Welcome to the 3rd Annual Chicago Jazz Festival. Tonight is a tribute to Count Basie, the one and only, the legendary Count Basie. The next group of young men are veterans of the Chicago jazz scene and the world jazz scene. Our pianist is the incomparable John Young. Our bassist, Eddie DeHaas, and the drummer is George Hughes. And the group is led by Paul Serrano and Eddie Johnson, trumpet and tenor saxophone.
you very much. Before we continue, we'd like to once again acquaint you with the gentleman in the aggregation. On drums, George Hughes. How about a nice hand for George Hughes? In the string department, Mr. Eddie DeHaas on bass. And I'm sure you're all familiar with young John Young on piano, ladies and gentlemen. And the co-leader of the group, Mr. Eddie Johnson. And the other co-leader of the group, Mr. Paul Serrano. Thank you. We'd like to feature Eddie Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, on a little version of Ghost of a Chance.
Eddie DeHaas is married to a very fine singer, Geraldine DeHaas, and without Geraldine's efforts a few years ago in presenting this kind of festival, this very festival that we're broadcasting now would not exist. She was the person who really, through her own ingenuity and really got everybody interested in realizing that Chicago had much to shout about in terms of jazz, and started the tribute to Duke Ellington and a lot of good things. You know, we have all kinds of good people here. I was talking about Paul Serrano, and we interviewed him last year when we were talking about things that are happening in Chicago, and he played. But Eddie Johnson is a tenor man who is not only a very fine instrumentalist who's been playing for a lot of years, but just in the last year or so, people have kind of caught up to the fact that Eddie is as great a tenor man as he is. I heard you, Eddie, with the press conference, and you just knocked me over, and I really enjoyed it. How does it feel?
Thank you very much. Yeah.
How does it feel to have people recognizing the way you play after all these years?
Well, I tell you, it's quite a thrill. I mean, I'm kind of a low-key individual, you know, this is all sort of new to me, and I'm trying to handle it, you know, but it's all kind of new to me. And,
well, you know, you epitomize the kind of guy that took another kind of job and worked very hard and only got to play occasionally.
Right.
And there are a lot of guys, you know, who had to do that to bring up the kind of family you had to bring up, and for a variety of reasons. But I know a lot of those guys are looking at you with envy these days because at least now that you've retired, you're into the field. Yeah. And how does being into the field now, what is the difference in your life? What do you do now?
Well, I tell you, Billy, I feel I'm quite fortunate. A lot of people maybe have one career, and I feel that here I'm working on my third one, you know, because I was in music prior to working for the city, which I just retired the first of the year. And I was there 23 years, and just jobbing once a month, as, you know, this sort of thing. And prior to that, I was with, you know, with Louis Jordan and Coleman Hawkins and up and down the road, you know. And now I'm back into what my first love.
Beautiful.
Music. And so I feel that's kind of 3 careers, so I feel I'm very fortunate.
You certainly are.
So I play my horn all night and play golf all day, and I'm living it up, believe me.
Does that make you feel a little guilty?
Oh, yes, it does. It really does.
I have a friend of yours on the other end, on the other microphone there, and Neil Tesser is going to be joining us in just, as a matter of fact,
I'm right here now, Billy. I'm right here, and it's so good to hear Eddie Johnson, who gives such eloquent testimony to the fact that jazz has always been a life, but not always a living for its practitioners, and it's so good to have him back out here, as he is so regularly. He plays 3-4 nights a week now, and you just play golf and saxophone now, is that right, Eddie?
That's right.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you something about, since you're here on Count Basie night, this tribute to Count Basie. You certainly have had a lot of influence of Count Basie's music on your own very relaxed sound, relaxed but energetic, I think you'd call it. Tell us a little bit about what Basie's music meant to your music.
Well, that's been my music all through the years, Neil. Prez was my idol, Prez and Hogg, and just the swinging sounds of the Count. That's been it all my life, and everything swings. He swings, baby, believe me, and that's where it is.
Everybody out on stage is getting a little nervous because you've got to go out there. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us on the NPR mic.
Thank
and
you,
I'm going to be
Billy.
telling the folks about your upcoming Jazz Alive show. You go ahead, but thank you very much.
You're very kind. Thank you.
It's
Thank
my
you,
pleasure.
Billy.